B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'nasliach. Parshat Nitzavim in the Zera Shimshon. This shiur is dedicated for the refuah shelema of kol cholei am Yisrael u'bichlalam mazal tov bat Malka Penina. May Hashem give her a refuah shelema b'toch she'ar kol cholei am Yisrael. And it is Leilu Nishmat Harav Shimshon Chaim ben Nachman Michael, the Zera Shimshon, and Rafael ben Munavar, Shmuel ben Rabbi Yehuda, and Emmanuel ben Munavar. Ruach Hashem tenichanam megan Eden. So the pasuk in this parasha it's a beautiful pasuk, especially the fact that we're coming on to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Yamim Noraim. The Torah says, "Im yihye nidachecha b'ktzah hashamayim, misham yikabetzcha Adonai Elohecha u'misham yikachecha." If yihye nidachecha, if you get spread out and lost, so to speak, b'ktzah hashamayim, to the edges of the heavens, Misham yikabetzcha Hashem Elokecha, from there Hashem your God will gather you, u'misham yikachecha, and from there He will take you. Doesn't that sound beautiful? It's basically Hashem telling Bnei Israel, no matter how far and wide you go, how far out you go, I'll still bring you back. I will still be with you. The Zera Shimshon says, Yesh letaqder, we have to try to understand Shetavat Misham Harishona Sheba Pasuk. The word Misham is evidently extra here, because it would have been enough to say, if you are scattered and divided all the way to the Biktzah Shamayim, to the ends of the heavens, Mikol Makom, no matter what, Yikabetzcha Hashem Elokecha, Hashem will gather you. There was no need really to say Misham. If you get spread out and go as far as the edges of the heavens, God will gather you and bring you back. Why does it have to say Misham Mikabetzcha? From there, He will bring you back. There's no really a need for the word Misham. And also he says, why do we have the repetition? You guys remember in the other classes we also discussed repetitions of words. It says, here it says, Misham ekabetzcha Hashem Elokecha, from there Hashem will gather you, u'misham yikachecha, and from there He will bring you or take you. Why are you repeating the word so much? Why is the repetition? And also the repetition is also on the yikabetzcha and yikachecha, gather you and bring you. Either say He'll gather you from there, or say He will bring you from there. Why do I need the double language, so to speak? V'yesh lomar, and it begins to answer our question, and we're going to kind of go dealing with a few different things, and you'll see how it's going to answer the question beautifully. Yesh lomar, there's a Gemara in Gemara Megillah in the Talmud, Tet Zayin Amud Aleph. There's a pasuk in Megillat Esther that says like this. I'll read the pasuk for you. Vaysaper Haman lezeresh ishto ulchol ohavav et kol asher garahu. Haman retold the story to his wife and all his loved ones. These were people of high power, and his friends, people close to him. He said it to them, he retold the story to them. Et kol asher karahu, everything that happened to him. Vayomeru lo, and they said to him, Chachamav vezeresh ishto, his wise men, his his friends that were in high power as just as much as he was, and his wife said to him, if Mordechai is from the nation, is from the seed of the Jews, asher hachilota limpol lefanav, that you started to fall before him, lo tuchalo, you will not be able to beat him. Lo tuchal, you're not going to have strength for him. You will be powerless before him. Ki napol tipol lefanav, because you will fall before him. You guys know this? His own wife, Haman, the story of Purim, what happened in the story of Purim? Haman becomes this all-powerful assistant to the king, and he gets the king to agree for the destruction of all of the Jews. And the king agrees to this and basically gives him the key and says, do what you will, do whatever you want with the Jews. Because Ahasuerus was a Persian, so I have to have a Persian accent. Right? And he tells him, go do what you will. Then, an episode takes place in the Parsha that says, not in the Parsha, in Megillat Esther, that Ahasuerus tells Haman, go ahead and take. Ahasuerus says to Haman, Haman, tell me something. Right? If you had someone that did something great for you, a great favor for you, how would you say I should pay the guy back? How would you pay the guy back? Haman, thinking that the king is talking about himself, Haman, right? Who, the Megillah says, Haman said to himself, who is there greater than me and closer than me to the king and all of the kingdom? He's talking about me. He wants to do something nice for me. So he says what he would like the king to do for him. What does he say? He says, what I think you should do to this person, quote unquote, is bring your personal horse and your personal garment and your crown and give him from your clothing, your garb and your crown and your horse. You should place this man on your horse in the street, and someone should walk before him and announce to all your kingdom, this is what will be done to anyone that does good in the eyes of the king. Ahasuerus says, what a wonderful idea, Haman. I think that was the most beautiful, wonderful idea you've ever had. Go, take my horse, and do exactly as you said for Mordechai HaYehudi, Mordechai the Jew. And make sure you don't leave anything out. Exactly as you said shall be done for Mordechai. Haman's like, oh my God, it's his nemesis, his worst enemy. The guy he wants to get rid of, now he has to put him on king's horse and take him around the street and say, this is how the king treats those who find favor in his eyes. But he does it anyway because it's the order of the king. He puts Mordechai on a horse, takes him around the streets, and he starts making those announcements. What happens then? Something very nice. Beautiful. You guys know what happened then, right? Haman's daughter, who obviously had a very bad eyesight. Haman's daughter goes on top of the roof. She thinks, right, that who else would be sitting on this horse other than my father? It's for sure my father. And guess who's walking my father while he's sitting on the king's horse? It's Mordechai. So she takes a whole basket full of trash and dumps it on who she thinks is Mordechai, which was actually her own father. And that's like the story goes on. When all of this happens, before he's actually appointed to take Mordechai into the streets, I'm going back into the story now. The king has told him that he wants to do something, he wants to talk to him about something. Haman is telling his friends and his wife about the challenges that he's having with this Jew called Mordechai. Right? And now he wants to, he's going to be sitting up. What does his wife and his friends turn to him and say? His friends and his wife turn to him and say, if this Mordechai is from the seed of the Jew, you will fall before him. You're not going to beat him. That's what they tell him. And those are the words, napol tipol, you will fall. It's a repetition of the same word twice. In other classes, when we discussed this, I said to you that whenever there is a double mention of the same exact word, it's putting emphasis on how fast and how badly it's going to happen, which in Art Scroll is basically translated as surely. You will surely fall before him. Napol tipol. So now that we have that introduction, the Gemara says about this sentence in the Megillat Esther, when his wife and his ohavav, his friends, tell him, Napol tipol, that you will fall. These two, repetition of the word, Darash Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai expounded on this pasuk and said what? Melamed, this teaches us, the double lashon teaches us, She'amru lo Zeresh v'chachamav leHaman. That Zeresh and his friends said to Haman, Umazo, this nation, this Jewish nation, the Jude, Al-Yehud, whatever you call them, or as they called you, they called us in Iran, the Jude, this Jew, Meshula le'afar. This Jew has been compared to dust, the dust of the earth. When are we compared to the dust of the earth? Ka'afar ha'aretz. Right? The Torah compares Bnei Israel. Hashem says your children, the Jews are going to be ka'afar ha'aretz, like the dust of the earth or the sand of the earth. It's a word that's used to emphasize the multiplication of Bnei Israel, how fruitful and how many we're supposed to be or we will be. Right? We're supposed to be many in numbers. However, in another sense, you have to think to yourself, why be compared to dirt? Why are the Jews compared to dirt? We're compared to other things too. But why here are we compared to dirt? He says, because dirt is something that even the lowest of the low steps on. You could be a slave. You'll still be walking on dirt. Dirt is the lowest of low. You could be the lowest of the low, and you'll still be stepping on what we call dirt. Which means, if you're dirt, you are lower than the lowest. You're compared to like nothing. You're nobody. Even animals walk on dirt. You mean nothing. You're worth nothing. You're walked upon by everybody. However, they tell him, but the Jews are also compared to something else. What else are the Jews compared to? Stars of the heavens. Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, your children will be as fruitful and numerous as the stars of the heavens. Two complete opposites. You got earth, the lowest of the low on the ground, or the stars of the heavens that you can never reach. How many light years will it take you to actually travel to one of the stars? There's a lot. It's a lot. Pretty much impossible. Right? You would have to have a ship that's going to exist for God knows how long for it to reach one of the stars. Right? It's the highest you could possibly get when it comes to metaphorically speaking. It's not infinite. Right? But metaphorically speaking, when you're comparing a nation in heights, in level to the stars, it means nothing goes higher than you. You're the highest of high. So Bnei Israel are compared to dirt and the stars of the heaven. So far so good? Everybody following? Everybody following? Yes. You think so? So the people around Haman are telling him, look, the Jews are compared to dirt, but they're also compared to dust. They're compared to dust and dirt, but they're also compared to the stars. What does that mean? Shekeshehem Yisrael Yoredin, which is something that we could relate to. When Jews go down, when we're on a low, we are really low. We go all the way down. We stoop to the lowest of low. And it's happened. We've seen it in history. I would venture to say we're there now in certain areas. Destruction of the temple was 2,000 years ago. Look at us. We're still here. We think we're comfortable. We think we're good. But we're in la la land. Quite literally. We think things are wonderful and dandy, but it's not. This is not the way it's supposed to be. It's the worst thing it has gotten. Yes, in certain areas we have more than we had before. We have a lot of Torah. We have a lot of yeshivot. But as much as we have yeshivot and Torah, the other side is also gaining. The impurities are also gaining. We're still not where we're supposed to be. So when we go to the lowest of low, we really go low, like dirt. And everybody walks on us. When we become low, everyone takes advantage of us. Take the Holocaust. As I'm taking the Holocaust as an example because it's the closest in history. Take the Holocaust. How many years was the Holocaust going on for?
6 years.
Yeah. More actually. But that is where it started like becoming major. As long as the Holocaust was going on for years, nobody lifted a finger. Nobody. You think the world didn't know what was happening to the Jews? Why don't you go back and why don't you search it? You'll see newspaper clippings with information about exactly what's happening to Jews in Germany. Here in the United States, newspaper here, not German newspapers, US newspapers. Or when things were said about the Jews, like when Jews wanted to escape to certain places, you would hear leaders of nations saying, we don't have an immigrant problem and we don't want one. That's what we were looked upon as. That's what happened. By a miracle of all miracles, when time had come for the Holocaust to end, how were the Jews actually saved? What happened that we were actually saved? Let's be honest. It was the cause of it was World War II. The war didn't happen because, Germany is taking advantage of the Jews. Other things happened internally which caused United States and Britain to get involved. And through their involvement, when they went in, they saw, oh my gosh, this is too much. And Baruch Hashem, they saved all the Jews that were left. But when we were on the low, we were the lowest. We were less than the lowest. Less. We were taken advantage of. We were murdered by the millions. When you go to Eretz Yisrael, you go to the Holocaust Museum there, Yad Vashem. They have a special part of the museum that's separate from the main one. It's called the Hall of Children. And you see 1.5 million candles for the 1.5 million babies, children that were killed in the Holocaust that they have accounted for. That's just children. 1.5 million, just children. Forget about all the elders and stuff like that. The rounded up number of 6 million. How bad can it get? It could get really bad when it comes to Jewish nation. No other nation has gone through what we have gone through. So the Zerah Shimshon is saying, when the people around Haman were telling Haman that the Jews are compared to Afar Haaretz, the dirt of the land, when they're low, they are low. You can step all over them. You could be a slave and step all over them. Who was a slave in the story of Megillat Esther? Haman. Haman, in fact, was a slave. To whom? To Mordechai. If you read the Midrash says that Haman sold himself legally to Mordechai. What happened? Haman and Mordechai were both generals of the king, Achashverosh. And they were on different battlefields. And as a general, you are responsible to feed your soldiers all the time to make sure they maintain strength levels at certain points and so on and so forth. Haman was misusing what he had been given to ration to his soldiers. They were partying all the time. They were Mordechai, seeing this on the other side, kept going to Haman. The way I see it, I've done the numbers. You're going to run out of food. You're going to run out of water. You're not going to have anything for your soldiers. You need to stop. You Jew want to tell me how to handle my people, my soldiers? I'm fine. Make a story short, Haman's section of soldiers, they run out of food, they run out of water, they were starving. Haman comes to Mordechai and says, okay, ration off some of what you have, which is extra, to our soldiers. He says, what do you mean? I can't give to you. I've rationed enough for my soldiers. If I give to you, I have to cut their rations by half. He begs and he begs. What does Mordechai do? Mordechai says, I'll make you a deal. Mordechai knew exactly what Haman is going to be planning on later on, which is the story of Purim. Haman says, Mordechai says to Haman, I want you to write a contract that you are my slave. I give you food, you survive because I help you survive. You will be my slave. Write a contract. He says, no way. He walks away. A few days later, when he's starving, he comes back and goes, where do I sign? What does Mordechai do? He takes off his boot. He writes the contract on his boot. And he gives it to Haman to sign. That Haman is a slave to Mordechai. So now in the story of Purim, when you see Haman is so upset because Mordechai won't bow down to him. Why doesn't he say anything to him in public? Have you ever thought about that? Haman doesn't say anything to Mordechai in public for not bowing down to him. He's the right-hand man of the king. He'll be like, how dare you not bow to me? Everybody else is bowing to me. Bow. You don't see that in the entire story of Purim. Haman does not turn to Mordechai and say, bow. Why? Ever thought of that? You know why? The Midrash says every single time Haman would look at Mordechai and how Mordechai is standing upright and everybody else is bowing down to him, Mordechai just would pick up his boot. Be like, what would you say? Bow who? And Haman had nothing to say because all needed to be done was Mordechai to come up and show his boot to everybody. I got the contract, I take it with me all over the place. Haman is my slave. And he was holding on to that as a collateral. Right? So now we can understand what's happening. So his people are telling him, listen, when the Jews are on a low, even a slave could literally step on them. Because they're like dirt. Even a slave walks on dirt. It's inevitable. You walk on a street, you're walking on dirt. So Haman, even you, that you technically sold yourself to him as a slave, even you, when they're low, even you can stomp on them. But the fact that they're also compared to the stars of the heaven, Shekeshehem Olin, when they start going up, the moment you see that they got an up, oh boy, they don't stop. They don't go to the middle. They will go all the way up like the stars of the heaven. Just move out of the way. There is two levels for Am Yisrael, they were telling him. They're either the lowest of the low or the highest of the high. There's no midpoint. If they're low and you see they're low, do what you will with them. Nothing will happen. The moment you see there's an inkling of hope that they're going up, that's it, you lost. They're going to go all the way up. And what happened? The moment Haman got the order from King Achashverosh to take Mordechai and put Mordechai on the horse and take him around the streets announcing that this is how someone who finds favor in the eyes of the king is treated, once that happened, they told him, that's it, it's over. It's over. You just saw Mordechai going up just a little bit. Just a show of thank you from the king, but it's over. From here on, it's going to be up, 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 and up. There's no coming back down. This concept is a very old concept for Am Yisrael. The Maharal Miprag says this concept. And you see this concept in the story of unclus. Unclus, which we have in every single Chumash today, he's the number one translator and definer of different words in the Torah. The definition that is always on the side of the Chumash that you see is called unclus. Unclus was the nephew of Titus HaRasha, King Titus. He was his nephew who converted to Judaism. Unclus converts to Judaism and he becomes a big rabbi and makes a big sound in the world. Titus, his uncle, seeing what's happening, my own nephew became a filthy Jew. I'm here enslaving the Jews, and he goes and completely to the other side and becomes a Jew, and now he's becoming a famous Jew. So I'll make the story short. He calls unclus to come to him, and he says, "How dare you do this to me? What did you do? Why? You've disgraced your family, your bloodline. You come from kingship. Why did you do this?" Unclus says, with all due respect, my master, my lord, I learned this from you. You told me Literally, you told me that this is what should be done in life. He says, out there, when did I ever say that to you? He says to them, one time, when I was learning from you, I asked you, how do you know where to invest? What do you invest in? If I want to invest in something, how do I know what I should invest in? He wanted some chokhmah, some wisdom from his uncle who had taken over so much of the lands. So he said, I'll give you the key to investment. Look at what a chacham this guy was. He says, I'll give you the key to investment. Now you guys listen also. As the eyes are on me, investment, keys to riches. It says, find something that is so low that can't go any lower. Invest in that. Because if it can't go any lower, what's going to happen? It's going to have to go up. It's not going to stay where it is. If something is so low where it can't go any lower, it's only going to go up. And however much it goes up, it'll make you money. Because even 2 steps is 2 steps. It's not going to go any lower. So he says, I looked around in life. Which nation is the lowest of the low? I found the Jews. Everybody hated the Jews. They were the lowest of the low. Everyone stepped on them. Everyone took advantage of them. They took their temple, everything. And I said, you know what? I will apply the investment mentality that you taught me in this. I researched the Jews. Why are they so low? And the more I researched about them, the more I found out, wow, they're incredible. This is the emet. They have the truth. They're low now, and they're the lowest of low. However, they're only going to go up. So I converted. To which his uncle had nothing to say. So this is a very old concept about Judaism. We might be the lowest of low at points. But when we start going up, we go kechochavei hashamayim, all the way to the stars of the heavens. That's what the people of Haman were saying to him. Look, they might be dirt, but you got to realize they're also compared to the stars by their own Torah. So if they're compared to the stars, you better be careful, because when they start going up, they're going to go all the way up. So they're telling him, Napol tipollo. You will fall, double lashon, double language of the use of falling. Why? This is what he's explaining. That the double lashon was to clearly make Haman understand that just because they are low now, it doesn't mean that they'll always stay low. They were making a point to him. And he brings, and you can see from the language of the Zerah Shimshon what the Zerah Shimshon is trying to tell us. The Zerah Shimshon is kind of telling us, somehow, there is like some kind of a segula for Am Yisrael, that when we go so low, there's like some kind of segula there where as soon as we reach the lowest point, we bounce back up. That's how it works. So in a way, the Zerah Shimshon is saying, in a way, being the lowest of low at some points could be a very good thing. Because you know at that point that you're going to start going up. Take, for instance, we used as an example, the Holocaust. Yes, we look at it, not only look at it, I mean, it's horrific. It's one of the most horrific things that have happened in history. In such a short span of time. Right? But let's just think about it. Let's stand back and look at it from far. What did we gain after the Holocaust? Things our ancestors dreamt of for thousands of years. Only dreamt of. Your great-grandparents dreamt about going to Israel. It was not even a dream. Let's put it this way. It was too much even for a dream. Because for thousands of years it was untouchable. Within 6-7 years, the Holocaust happens, which was horrible. But what happens right afterwards? We get Eretz Yisrael back. Not only do we get Eretz Yisrael back, within 70 years, it's one of the most... It's the top 10 countries in the world, which in itself is a miracle. Which country do you know that in 70 years is literally giving technology to the rest of the world. It's incredible. The survival of some parts of the world depended on technology that came from Israel. Their drip irrigation technology that's feeding the hungry around the world in places that there is no water comes from a country that is literally a state, not a country, a state that in the modern era is only 70 years old. I'm sure you've traveled in Eretz Israel, you've seen most of the land that has plantations in it right now. Go travel Eretz Israel. You can just drive on the highway and you'll see on the sides the plantations they have of trees and whatever it is they're planting, right? It's literally in rock. It's in mountains. It's places you can't plant anything. How do they do it? It's beyond me. Literally, it's a miracle. Why am I telling you it's a miracle? Why don't I say, oh, it's because of their chokhmah and technology? Okay? Because for thousands of years, other people that were also farmers also lived in Eretz Israel. Why weren't they able to do it? Why did they plant and it never grew then? Because the Torah tells us, Eretz Israel only flourishes in the hands of its true owners. Its true people. Am Israel. Eretz Israel only flourishes then. It's because it's our land. So now, we see an example of exactly what this segula is really. The Zera Shimshon is saying, part of Jews' success story is hitting rock, flying back up. That's literally what happens. When we're on the lowest of low, right after that low, there's no telling where we can go. And it says, also, the Gemara says, hold on, I'm just going to... And this is what the pasuk says. If you get spread out to the ends of the heavens, that's what the pasuk that we were discussing. We're going back to our pasuk again from the Parsha. If you get spread out to the ends of the heavens, as far as you could possibly go, right? Which means there is no further that you can possibly go. You're at the end of it. You're so far lost, the Torah says. You're so far lost, you can't go any further than that. Because you've gone so low, you're so lost, you're like dirt. And you can't go any further. Then the Torah says, Misham Davka Yikabetzcha Hashem. Why? We said, why is it that the Torah says, from there Hashem will gather you? Just say, Nidachecha Yikabetzcha Hashem. If you get lost and sent to the corners of the world and you're so lost and you're so low, Hashem will gather you. Why say, Misham Yikabetzcha? The Zera Shimshon is saying the word Misham is coming to tell you, no, because you've gone so low, Hashem will bring you up. Meaning a part of the reason why we go so high is because we went so low. That's the segula. Hashem is telling us there is positivity in being like dirt. For Yamim Noraim, this is key. For Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, this is key. You want to really do teshuvah? You want to have a better year? You want Rosh Hashanah to be meaningful? You want Yom Kippur to really, like we say, chasp? You want it to really feel like I had a Yom Kippur, I had a Rosh Hashanah that really I'm grown from? You have to become like afar. You have to make yourself so low like dirt. Because when you make yourself so low like dirt, then it's not on you to make yourself better. Then you get Hashem's help to grow from it and become better. Hashem says, when you make yourself like dirt, when you're the lowest of low, then I will bring you up. So let's try this on Yom Kippur. Let's try this on Rosh Hashanah. Instead of coming to Rosh Hashanah like, I'm dressed better than I've always been. I don't know who's looking, but I hope somebody is, right? Let's this year not do that. Let's this year come on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur truly thinking to ourselves, I want to become better. But in order for me to become better, I have to make myself like I'm truly an anav, like I'm a nothing, which I truly am. We are. I am. I have nothing. I am nothing without HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't have anything. So sometimes we come on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and we're doing, let's say on Yom Kippur, we're doing the vidui. The vidui, we say, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Al Chet Shachatanu Lefanecha, Al Chet Shachatanu Lefanecha, on the mistakes that I've made on this, I've stolen of this, of that. In our minds, when we're reading it, especially when we're going through the translation, what do we say? Did I really ever do that? No, I'm so kind. That I know I've never done. Because my heart is good. I'm Persian, and Persian, good heart. That's all that matters. Right? Or a bunch of other nonsense that we tell ourselves. And we accept some things, but let's be honest. There are some things we don't accept. How about this year coming in and really being honest? And saying, you know what, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chesed, I can definitely do better. I haven't even touched the surface in kindness. Tzedakah, I haven't even touched. Lying, I've lied so much through my teeth, I don't even know where to begin. Have I stolen? Probably. Maybe I haven't pickpocketed anybody, but I can think of a few ways why. During work, after work, phone calls here and there. Maybe I was doing things which I shouldn't be doing on other people's time. You know, the halakha says, if a person stands and prays in front of a door where somebody that wants to leave the Bet Knesset is not able to in that moment, you have just robbed them of their time. That's theft. There are things that we do in life, we don't even know which category they fall into. So the best thing to do on Yom Kippur, on Rosh Hashanah, is come and say, you know what, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want you to pick me up. You know why? Because I'm afar, I am dirt, I'm nothing. I'm not going to come here and make believe I'm a tzaddik, I have some things, I don't have some things, at least I didn't do that. You know what? I did all of it. Do I remember all of it? I don't remember all of it. But you remember all of it, so I'm not going to make believe it never happened. That is the segula to pick us back up. That's what the Zera Shimshon is saying. Why does he say, Hashem says in the Pasuk, Misham yikabetzcha, I will take you from there, davka from there. Meaning what? Only if you reach that point, then that's the clicker for me. I will come from that point and bring you out. But if you don't bring yourself to that point, then you come out. That's what the Zera Shimshon is telling us. It says, Shehayerida tachtona. It says, we see from here that low point that we've reached, that yerida, that going to the bottom pit, hi atzma hasiba. That in itself is the working factor in itself that brings us up. Like an investment. Just like unclus. Like an investment. The fact that something is low, that in itself tells me that this is good money right here. Because it's only going to go up. If it wasn't the low, then I wouldn't know. It would probably fluctuate, go maybe lower. But the fact that it's all the way low, that's how I know that it's only going to go up. With this mentality, I think Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Yamim Noraim could be completely different. We could possibly have a Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur that we've never had before with this kind of a mentality. Going into Rosh Hashanah really understanding that, you know what, Hashem, I am at your mercy completely. I am at the low, and you help me. And with that, Bezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to have a Shana Tova Umtuka, and we should tikanes, and we should welcome a year filled with joy, and we should be written in the Sifrei Chaim. Amen ve Amen. Baruch Adonai L'Olam. Amen ve Amen.